All right, Echo Valley is a new movie you can watch on Apple TV Plus right now, and it stars Julianne Moore and Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, lately she's been like in everything lately. I don't know how. Some actresses just kind of fall into this cool good luck pit and they just end up in everything, and then everybody thinks they're all that. So she does a good job acting in this, so I can't complain about Sydney's acting in this one. And Julianne Moore is always on point, so hey, what can you say? Now, the premise of this movie is actually very good, and I'm going to probably talk about it using some spoilers, but I'm going to try and wait until the halfway mark before I get into that, because this is one of those films in which you think the plot is going one way and then it changes midway, and that's what makes it worth watching. And it changes in a way that is like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It isn't just a plot twist for the sake of a plot twist. So, in this particular story, it's about a woman who has been divorced for a while, and she's actually married someone else, a woman, and so there's a bit of apparently all this kind of stuff has sort of created a fragile relationship between her and her daughter. And her daughter is also gotten into drugs, so there's a lot of stuff going on. This film is called Echo Valley because they show the main character, Julianne Moore. I guess we should call her the main character by default because the action seems to revolve around her. Echo Valley is apparently this stable. It's a place where she gives like horseback riding lessons, and she's having trouble making ends meet. And she often has to go to see her ex-husband, played by Colin McLaughlin, who's barely in this film. But usually when he's in something, he's like usually in it for a while. This guy played Dale Cooper on Twin Peaks, for crying out loud. This is all you used him for, like one scene where he writes a check, literally. Yeah, so basically, so their relationship is kind of strained, and not only that, so one day, yeah, I know, it's hard to believe. There was a time when most movie previews had "until one day" in them. Well, this is the one day that happens. Sydney Sweeney shows up on the porch, and it seems like that they're going to try and reestablish their relationship because it's obviously strained. These two have been through some real bad stuff, and usually what happens, you can kind of tell the pattern, is that Sydney Sweeney will come home and claim that she hasn't been using, but in fact has been, just falls back in her old patterns, and that's sort of it. So apparently she's been using, Sydney Sweeney has been using Julianne Moore as sort of a stop point, and Julianne Moore has been enabling her, I think is probably the best term for this. This sort of gets into something because it's kind of funny because you look at Sydney Sweeney's character and you realize that she is not a nice person, and you're wondering if she would be a nice person, or she probably wouldn't be a nice person without the drugs. That's sort of the vibe I feel like I was kind of getting from this character. When she shows up, she mentions that, hey, I lost my phone, but I want to look at this. I want to look at your tablet because I basically went to my boyfriend's stuff, and my boyfriend has been cheating on me or something, and I just threw out all this stuff. Well, apparently when she threw out her boyfriend's stuff, her boyfriend happened to have a kilo of heroin on him, and yeah, basically her boyfriend's drug lord boss comes in, of course, looking for it. And when the drug lord boss comes up, he's played by, I think, Dominic Gleeson. I think he's been in a lot of things, but he plays the baddie in this thing, really bad. He's definitely the big old bad in this thing. So one day, Sydney Sweeney runs off with her boyfriend, which seems to be the usual pattern between her and Julianne Moore's character. And when she comes back, she has blood on her. And then she says, "It's not my blood." And she says, "It's my boyfriend's blood." And so Julianne Moore goes to the car that they had come up in because it's pouring rain and stuff like that. And she notices that the boyfriend is she notices that there is a wrapped up body in the car. And she goes like, "Oh my gosh, what have you done?" And of course, Sydney Sweeney character is going like, "Oh, it was just an accident. It never meant to happen." So now I'm getting to the halfway point where Julianne Moore essentially disposes of the body. And here's the best part about this film. It's like these characters have no experience in any crime or anything like that. So when Julianne Moore goes to dispose of the body, she just goes out at night into this, I don't know, a public park lake on a boat and just kind of ties a brick to him and just kind of throws him overboard. And what's worse is there's like teenagers with fireworks that are lighting them off right there. So just bad timing, guys. Anyway, so here's the kind of thing that happens. Well, as it turns out, the drug lord guy, the Dominic Gleeson guy, comes back and wants his money and stuff like that. So Julianne Moore, remember how I said that Kyle MacLachlan wrote her a check at the beginning of this film? Well, she decides to use that money that she was planning on using to fix her roof to pay off this guy. And yeah, so of course she says like, here's the money, we're done, and just get out of here. And so unfortunately, Sydney Sweeney just sort of kind of runs away. And I have to say there's just this one scene, and I might have the scene out of order, but there's one scene where Sydney Sweeney and Julianne Moore have a terrible argument, and Sydney Sweeney actually threatens to take her dog away. And I just went like, okay, this is just terrifying to watch. And I had to admit, I had a hard time watching these scenes, but I know these scenes. It's one of these films where it's like, yeah, you know this is happening. So anyway, Sydney Sweeney disappears, so Julianne Moore tries to track her down. She eventually uses a Find Your Phone app to do it, and she finds Sydney Sweeney in a house with her boyfriend, who is alive. So, which leads to the question, whose body did she just dispose of? And what's really funny is I'm not saying it's really funny, but I have to admit, like, there's a scene in this film that is just not very smart, where Julianne Moore just goes back to the lake and she dives down to where she thinks she found the body, and she's looking for the body. And I'm kind of going like, dude, at least put swim goggles on. Do something. So, as it turns out, if you're wondering who the body is, this is where I'm probably going to spoil things a little bit earlier. Apparently, when Sydney Sweeney's boyfriend was giving out drugs to somebody, he mixed the drug concoction wrong, resulting in the death of one of their users. And so basically the boyfriend went to the drug lord boss and say, hey, I don't know what to do. And so they said, like, we'll just get rid of the body, and we'll figure out an elaborate. And so the whole thing with them getting rid of the body, Sydney Sweeney had orchestrated this plan that I'm going to make them think that this is my bad boyfriend, but it's actually going to be some guy that my bad boyfriend killed, and my boyfriend is really alive, and I'm going to run off with him, was what was going on. So yeah, naturally, drug lord boyfriend hears about this, knows about the body in the lake, and comes back to try and sort of basically put the squeeze on Julianne Moore's character, just wants more money. And what they decide to do, Julianne Moore and drug lord guy basically figure out a way to burn down Echo Valley so that the insurance money can be collected, and she can give the insurance money, which is like, I don't know, $150,000 counting the horses, to this guy. As it turns out, and this is something I didn't really think that this character could do, but actually was doing, because drug lord guys decided to stay home at Julianne Moore's place because he realized she's going to go out and squeal this information to the cops, and I don't want that to happen. What Julianne Moore does is a really intricate plan to make sure drug lord guy gets busted. And I'm not going to go into detail about this because honestly, if you're not confused by now, you haven't been listening well enough, because I'm sure I didn't do a good job of explaining this. Anyway, I'm saying, like, this is a good film because it feels like a film, say, Alfred Hitchcock would have made. That's what I would really have to say about this film. I like this film. I like this film a lot. I loved how its twist kept going on. I'm sure it has high ratings, so see this film if you haven't.